How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an elite individual profile on Keylor Navas. The elite Costa Rican goaltender for Paris Saint-Germain turns 35 today, and my intention with this episode is, of course, to focus on the facts or the stats, the numbers, and the numbers, of course, in every individual matchup, but also taking a step back and looking all of his accolades, his achievements, and his accomplishments as he's ascended himself into being in the argument or being the whole argument for the best goalkeeper in the history of the CONCACAF, in the history of the North American continent, and even if you include the Americas, he's definitely considered one of the best goalies to ever play. So just to give a little bit of background, like I said, he's originally from Costa Rica, stands in at about 6'1". Keylor Navas is known for being a big game goalie. He's usually known for going incredibly far, especially in the international tournaments, and by playing in a lot of very big games, he has been basically what his teams have asked him to be, and definitely a lot more. So just to give a bit of background, he would get promoted and play for his hometown team, Saprissa. This was the Costa Rican team that he would get called up for. He would go on to play 6 seasons there before playing at Albacete, and eventually he would go from there from the second division of Spain to get moved to Levante. He would officially get his actual European debut for a top tier organization in his age 24 season with Levante in 2011-2012. And of course, that is not to discount what he did before even making it to that point, as he was a member of the Costa Rican national team in 2008. And by that season, he had helped Costa Rica finish 4th place in the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2009. And in 2011, they would finish 5th as they lost in the quarterfinals. But of course, leading up until he made it to the big times in Spain, he would go on to play his very first big time season in his age 24 season. And in that season, he would start the lone game that he would play for a Levante team that would eventually go on to finish 6th in La Liga. They would go on to qualify for Europa League the very next season. However, he would go on to play more games for Levante in his second season there. In his age 25 season in 2012-2013, he would start 9 matches in a season where Levante would finish that season with the 11th best record in Spain after they would get knocked out of the Europa League in the round of 16 as well. In the La Liga matches he played, in the 9 matches he played in La Liga, he allowed 9 goals and had 2 clean sheets in that span. In the 12 Europa League matches he played, he would allow only 5 goals as he had 8 clean sheets. As of course, following 2013, he would go on to help Costa Rica compete in the quarterfinals, or they would lose in the quarterfinals for the CONCACAF Gold Cup, the North American match or the North American tournament, as a result, compared to Euros in Europe and the Copa America in South America. However, this would transition into his 3rd and final season with Levante. In Keylor Navas' age 26 season, his lone season as the starting goalie for Levante, he would start all 37 of the matchups he played for a Levante team that finished 10th in La Liga for the season. And then taking a look at how he fared in the other matchups, he would play 37 matchups in that season as he only allowed 35 goals. He would finish with 16 clean sheets despite finishing for a team that finished on the bottom half of La Liga. In the 2 Copa del Rey matches he played, he did not allow a single goal. And following that 2013-14 season, he would get playing time in the World Cup as he competed with Costa Rica. In the group stage, they would end up beating Uruguay and Italy in the first 2 matchups, as Keylor Navas allowed 1 goal versus Uruguay, and he allowed no goals for Italy. The next game was a 0-0 draw versus England. Once they made it to the round of 16, they would end up beating Greece on penalty kicks, and of course, knowing what a goalie does for penalty kicks to get it there, they would make it to the quarterfinals, and they, after drawing 0-0 with the Netherlands, they would lose 4-3 on penalties, and that would be the closest that Keylor Navas had gotten to winning the World Cup. And following that 2014 season, he would officially get bought up by Real Madrid after they triggered his 10 million euro buyout clause, and he would go on to sign a 6-year contract with the team. He would go on, his first competitive call-up would be in 2014-15, where, of course, he was still playing under Real Madrid legend Iker Casillas. But looking at his very first season with the Real Madrid organization, he would start 6 matchups in a season where Real Madrid would finish runners-up in La Liga. Taking a look at how they fared, they did go on to win the UEFA Super Cup, as in this matchup, they went on to beat Sevilla 2-0. And then looking at how they fared in the FIFA Club World Cup, they went all the way to the final, and they were able to take that title as well. So those are the very first couple of titles that Keylor Navas was able to claim in that season. But following his very first stint, in which he would only start 6 matchups in La Liga, but looking in that season, he would allow 3 goals in the 6 matches he played, as he had 3 clean sheets on that season. He would also go on to play 2 Champions League games in a stint where Real Madrid would go all the way to the semifinals before losing to Juventus in the year where Barcelona took that title. But also looking at those 2 games, he had 2 clean sheets in both those matchups. In the 3 Copa del Rey matches he played, he allowed 5 goals. And in this particular season itself, Real Madrid would go on and lose in the round of 16 in Copa del Rey, but because he was the goalie for that stint. But following that season, he would be the full-time starter for Real Madrid. In his second season with the club, in his age 28 season in 2015-16, he would start all 34 of the matches he played in a season where Real Madrid would go on to finish as runners-up in La Liga for the 2nd years in a row. The only trophy that they would take home was Champions League. This is the 2nd year out of a 3-year stint. They had won the year before he had gotten there. In this year, Real Madrid had gone toe-to-toe with Atletico Madrid at the very end, and it would be Real Madrid taking it on penalty kicks, and of course, Keylor Navas was a big part of Real Madrid winning. Looking at how he fared statistically in that season in La Liga, he allowed 27 goals in the 34 matches, as he had 13 clean sheets. He would allow 3 goals in the 11 Champions League matchups he played, as he would go on to finish with 9 clean sheets. And following that 2015-16 season, he would go on to add that trophy to his case. However, by the time he had won Champions League, he still hadn't won La Liga. That would go on to change with his 4th season in Real Madrid. And in his age 29 season in 2016-17, he would start 27 matches in a season in which Real Madrid would go on to win La Liga. This would be Keylor Navas' first La Liga title in his career. And he also this would be the first time that Real Madrid had won since 2012. And of course, taking a look at how he's fared, this is actually the only time that Keylor Navas has won La Liga to date. But looking at that season, in the 27 matchups he played, he allowed 29 goals, as he had 5 clean sheets on the season. He would play 0 Copa del Rey matches in a season where Real Madrid would lose in the quarterfinal. Not to mention that in Champions League, they would go all the way to the final and win yet again for the 2nd year in a row. The previous year, they had beat Atletico Madrid. This time, they would go on to beat Juventus 4-1. as they were able to win their third Champions League title in a 4-year span, and even to win it back-to-back is incredible. They would go on to win the Super Cup after that, as they ended up beating Sevilla, and they would also go on to win the FIFA Club World Cup for the second year in a row. And like I said, this would probably be the most trophies that Keylor Navas would pick up in a domestic season with the Real Madrid organization. And this transitioned into his fourth season with the Real Madrid organization. And in his age 30 season, he would go on to start he started 27 matchups in a season in which Real Madrid would finish with the third best record in La Liga. In 2017-18, they would go all the way to the quarterfinals of Copa del Rey. Starting first with La Liga, he allowed 27 goals in the 27 matches he played, as he had 7 clean sheets on the year. Looking at Copa del Rey, he only played one matchup, and the only matchup he played, he allowed 2 goals. In Champions League, he would go on to play 11 matches in a Champions League run that would see Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, Gareth Bale, and the Galactico era Real Madrid attack win the UEFA Champions League for the 3rd year in a row and for the 4th time in 5 seasons. This time they went all the way to the final to beat Liverpool 3-1, and following this season, the Galacticos would really disband as Ronaldo went to Juventus. And of course, following this 2017-18 season, this would lead into Keylor Navas' final season with the Real Madrid organization. In his 5th season with Real Madrid, following his 3 straight Champions League appearances, Super Cup wins, and FIFA Club World Cups. Not to mention that they did go on to win the Supercopa de España that year. They beat Barcelona 5-1 in the final. But leading into the first year that Real Madrid had without Ronaldo, and Keylor Navas' 5th season with the organization in 2018-19, in his age 31 season, he would go on to play only 10 matches in a season in which Real Madrid would go on to finish with the 3rd best record in the entire La Liga, or in all of La Liga. He would, in the 10 games that he played, he would allow 8 goals as he had 4 clean sheets. He would start all 7 matches in a Copa del Rey run that eventually saw them lose in the semifinals. He would go on to play 3 matches in a Champions League stint that would see Real Madrid ultimately losing in the round of 16. In the round of 16, Real Madrid found themselves on the losing end to Ajax, who made it all the way to the semifinals. But following that 2018-19 season where he wasn't getting much production, he would go on to play or move to the Ligue 1, leave Spain for the very first time in his career, as he signed a 4-year contract with Paris Saint-Germain prior to the 2019-20 season, which was the season that was impacted by COVID. In his very first season with PSG, he would start 21 matchups in a season where PSG would go on to win Ligue 1. They would also go on to win the Coupe de France, and they would win the Coupe de la Ligue, as they won both of their domestic cups. They went on to win, or looking first at how he fared in the La Liga, or in the Ligue 1 season, he allowed 16 goals in the 21 matches he played, as he still had a double-digit amount of clean sheets. He only played 2 matchups in the Coupe de la Ligue, as he had clean sheets in both those matchups. And of course, in looking at how it would end up, PSG would go on to beat Saint-Étienne 1-0 in the final. Taking a look at how the Coupe de la Ligue ended, this would result in PSG drawing with Lyon but winning in penalties. And then in Champions League, he would go on to play in 9 matchups in a season that would see PSG make it all the way to the Champions League final, and then they would lose 1-0 to Bayern Munich in that season. And even in those 9 matches he played, he allowed 6 goals and he had 5 clean sheets over the entirety of Champions League. But yeah, he would go on to win. Or in addition to the Coupe de la Ligue, he would also go on to win the Trophée des Champions, as they have a Super Cup of France, and they have 2 separate domestic leagues as in the Trophée des Champions. They would go on to beat Rennes, as this is actually the French Super Cup, as they were able to get the quadruple. They had, I guess, this was the first time they were able to do it while Keylor Navas was the goalie, and this was in his very first season there. And this is the most recent time they've done it. They've done it 4 times since the 2014-15 season. But following that season, he would come back for his 2nd season with PSG, the last full season that he's played. In 2020-21, in Navas' age 33 season, he would start 29 games in a season where PSG would finish with the 2nd best record in France, as they would end up losing to LOSC Lille for the overall title. In Ligue 1, he would allow 18 goals in 29 matches played as he finished with 15 clean sheets, the most clean sheets he's put up in a Ligue 1 season. He would also go on to play 3 matches in a Coupe de France or in a Coupe de France matchup that would eventually see PSG win the overall Coupe de France, as they ended up beating, or they would go all the way to the final where they would beat Monaco 2-0. And not to mention that they would also go on to win the Trophée de Champion, which is the French Super Cup. In this matchup, they ended up beating Marseille for the second trophy that they won that season. And following this year itself, he would go on to compete in so far 11 matchups for a PSG team that is sitting pretty much at the top of Ligue 1, and they're still in competition for Champions League, as PSG was one of the teams that was selected to play against Real Madrid, which is Keylor Navas' former team. So that'll be a very interesting matchup, especially looking at what Keylor Navas' amazing career has led up to in this point in time. Looking at where Keylor Navas is as he turns 35, he is still definitely one of the best goalies in the world with an incredible track record at his disposal. He is a Costa Rican champ, first of all, before he even went to Spain. When he went to Spain, he would go on to win La Liga once. He won Champions League 3 times. He won the Spanish Super Cup once. He won the FIFA Club World Cup 4 times and the UEFA Super Cup 3 times. When he went to France, he would go on to win Ligue 1 once. He won the French Cup once, and he won the French Cup twice, the League Cup once, and he would go on to win the Super Cup once as well. And who's to say that he won't even pick up more between now and the next time? But of course, with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 17 minutes of this piece. I really do hope all is well. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, of course, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Thursday, December 16th, for another episode of The Elite. So until then, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you then. I also want to thank the Pro Soccer reference websites as well as Footy Stats and Transfermarkt, because I wouldn't be able to do this without them. And like I said, I want to thank everyone for listening to everything that I said. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another piece tomorrow. Peace out.